morning all, and let me put on record that I should thank on behalf of C-DAC Patna to all participants to make it a successful webinar series of this 2-month long, where we have covered all the topics, relevant topics on data science and AI and different AI for healthcare, AI for biophysics, AI, convergence of HPC and AI for mobility. And then lastly, I would say it is just like an icing on the cake where we are touching upon all the basics and dynamics of building trust in AI with responsible AI. And with our expert talk and Ms. Sweta Sinha ma'am. So briefly telling about her profile, and then we'll start with today's session. Ma'am is an AI evangelist and ML practitioner who helps businesses make evidence-based decisions by gaining insights from data. In her current position as Director of Data Science at Ascend Learning at Kansas, USA, she provides thought leadership and strategic initiative to the business leaders to create new products and new business models. So for the record, Ascend Learning is a group of healthcare-related edtech organizations. She has also established and lead many AI Center of Excellence and strives to create human-centric AI system. She has been gold medalist and university topper in her undergraduate program in India, and she holds masters in computer science from University of Minnesota. Her journey in AI started back from DRDO India, where she worked on creating bio and chemical sensors. Her work on E. coli sensor was awarded R. Chandrasekhar Award for Best Innovative Work in Biosensor at National Seminar on Sensors in India. Currently, she is in Harvard University alumni, where she successfully completed her strategic management program with perfect GPA of 4.0. So we are privileged to have you, ma'am. And as the saying goes, we have saved the best for the last. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much for the kind introduction. And good morning to everyone. India is in such a difficult situation right now that it is heartbreaking to see what's going on in India. And with my heart, I feel that situation will improve in India, and very soon we'll come out strong here. I have a global team, and my team members are actually also from India, and I can see that they are impacted directly or indirectly by the COVID right now. They are impacted, their family members are impacted. So I pray for speedy recovery of India, and will come out strong. With that message, I will dedicate my today's talk to all the healthcare professionals and the frontline workers who are actually supporting lives and saving lives and working day and night to save the lives, our fellow citizen lives. So with that, I'll start my talk, and let me share my screen here. Right, and thanks to C-DAC Patna for organizing this series and making me a part of that. It's my great honor to be a speaker here. I have been following through the series of webinars, series of talks delivered by AI experts within this webinar, and really enjoyed listening to those. I believe no discussion around AI would be complete without a mention of responsible AI. Responsible AI is a governance framework around ethical, transparent, and accountable use of AI. Responsible AI brings the human elements, which is empathy, creativity, and care within the world of artificial intelligence. And as the world continues to embrace AI, this would be the key to ensure we can trust the decision made for us by the AI system. Now, before we dig a little deeper into the responsible or fairness aspect of AI, let's take a look at the evolution of AI and where we are today in the continuum of purely human to purely AI journey. The first phase of AI, and I'll call it assisted AI, was focused on deterministic automation driven by fixed rules or predefined workflows that would always give the expected result for any given conditions or inputs. This was a great starting point for automating some mundane or repetitive tasks, and it helped a lot in improving the operational efficiency and cutting down the cost. Assisted AI was used for automating many business processes. However, there was hardly any machine intelligence, as I say, or learning involved here. Moving forward, the second phase of AI was augmented AI, which brought predictive capabilities by looking into the historical data collected from past events to gather insight on what would happen in the future. We currently live in digital age where massive amount of data is available, both about things and people. In the past few decades, data capture has exponentially increased, and I'll say thanks to the technological advancements, lowering storage cost, computation cost, and vastly internet connected world. This machine learning algorithm can harness this enormous data, discover patterns in the data, and build insights that will be used for understanding the futures. Human decision here was augmented with predictions made by machine learning models. This phase is more about predictions and providing recommendations that would help us make better and insightful. So augmented AI was the second phase of AI, and it actually came into existence because of the exponential technological advancement and lowering storage cost and internet connected world. And even the advancement in the machine learning algorithm, like deep learning, was there in, like, we have that today in picture. And using all of those things, we can harness the enormous data that is available in today's world and discover patterns in the data and build insight that will be used for understanding the future. Now, human decision was augmented with predictions made by machine learning models. And this phase is more about predictions and providing recommendations that would help us make better and insightful data-driven decisions. I will consider this as semi-intelligent system where machine learning specialists explore the data, extract information and important features, and optimize the algorithm with a particular fixed outcome in mind. Moving forward again, we are in the autonomous AI phase. This phase is the one we are actually leading in. The massive breakthrough in voice and visual identification via deep learning fueled the development of more human-like intelligence. Autonomous AI system can learn on its own. Self-driving car, for example, is an autonomous kind of AI. Recently, Domino's Pizza was in news for initiating autonomous pizza delivery at Houston. And this is just the beginning. Very soon, we'd also see autonomous shops. Amazon is already experimenting with Amazon Go, or autonomous robotic surgeon assistant. These opportunities are just endless. Now, just to give an idea on how pervasive AI is in our day-to-day life, we'll start with fulfillment of our basic needs. Supermarkets like Walmart utilizes AI in their supply chain management, marketing, pricing optimization, bringing new products, and even to prevent shoplifting. Wayfair, which is an online home improvement and furniture store, uses augmented reality and AI-based search with photo feature to provide a self-service design center. Now everyone can be an interior decorator. Search with photo feature actually allow customers to take a picture of their own current living space, and then it gives a selection of themed product recommendation to decorate their living space virtually. Financial institutions like JP Morgan are utilizing AI for live fraud detection, credit approval, and many other services. Transportation platform like Uber extensively relies on AI to dynamically manage its pricing based on traffic and demand. It also uses AI to provide one-click chat facility for their drivers. Moving beyond the basic need to the need for knowledge and assistance, global knowledge powerhouse Google search engine uses AI for its page ranking. Now, conversational AI system like Alexa, which is now found in many homes. They help us with playing on-demand news, music, answering questions, placing online orders, monitoring our home, and controlling our home appliances. They're making the home smart homes. Stretch it to the next miles of needs and wants. AI is even playing big role in entertainment. Entertainment content company like Netflix uses AI to recommend users content they would be more interested to watch. Social platform like Facebook uses AI for post recommendations and friends recommendations. Overall, the prime objective for integrating AI by various companies is to improve customer satisfaction and gain competitive advantage. And the result have mostly been the game changer for those companies. As we see, it is fairly clear how much AI we are using even today. To understand why we should be concerned about the responsible usage of AI, we need to understand how AI makes decisions. A typical machine learning flow looks like this. We gather the data and then extract useful information from the data by data processing, then train the model and evaluate for the best performance of the model, and then we use that model for prediction on a new input that the model have not seen before, a new live input. And this system is then extended to make recommendations or decision either in an autonomous or in augmented fashion. In the automation mode or autonomous mode, AI itself makes decision for us. The data is the crux here. If the data that is used to create the model is biased, that means that we expect our AI system to be biased as well. So here are some of the instances I have highlighted where bias in the underlying data resulted in creating an unfair model. Apple introduced its own credit card in 2019. Apple users soon noticed that the credit card is offering a smaller line of credit to women than to men. Even Apple co-founder Steve Wozniak tweeted saying he received 10 times more credit than his wife did, even though they had exact same financial standings. Now, Amazon, who is at the forefront of AI technology, this company also could not find a way to make its AI-based recruiting algorithm gender neutral. They used the AI recruiting tool in 2014, which was giving very low ranking to women for software developer and technical roles. The prime reason for this was the model was trained on Amazon employee historical data where most of the technical roles were filled by male. And the systemic bias resulted in model being gender biased, favoring men in certain roles. I will consider these are a little bit of lighter instances as if on the level of severity. However, the severity of using this type of bias system becomes huge based on where it is being used. Consider, for example, future crime risk assessment tool being used by US Police Department. This tool actually gave higher risk to Black female warden who had minor criminal offenses compared to white male predator who had armed robbery criminal charges. Even though he had armed robbery criminal charges, he's at low risk of redoing the crime. These are just few instances where bias in the AI decision system has impacted people's lives, and in some instances also cost few people freedom and rights when used in the high-stake manner. As AI technologies becomes more pervasive and deeply embedded in existing solutions and responsible for an increasing number of decisions like benefit payments, mortgage approvals, credit card approvals, medical diagnosis, they become less visible and less transparent. Unlike the autonomous car or the warehouse robot, algorithms are not visible. Their mistakes are also not visible. Organizations would face ethical as well as legal and regulatory risk if they use this AI as a black box. AI has brought tremendous value and have really changed people's lives in so many different ways. And in order to continue reap the benefits of AI, we must make all effort to ensure it is unbiased and not discriminate any person against, and particularly against our most vulnerable population, and give everyone fair prediction irrespective of gender, race, ethnicity, or any other societal factors. So the bias on the broader level, the biases comes from these three categories. The sample selection bias, which happens if the data has missing element in it. It can also be caused by incorrect data entry or by intentionally excluding some groups from the data. So another example of sample selection bias comes from the survivors only, looking at the survivors only data. A classic example of survivors only data issue is using data from surviving aircraft to understand where to strengthen the aircraft. The airplanes which did not survive was not used in the sample, and those airplanes contains the maximum information about the reinforcement need. They were hit at the weakest point, but the survivor aircraft were not hit at the weakest point, making it hard to analyze find the real problem, and it becomes harder to rectify this situation. Researcher bias, on the other hand, is a form of a cognitive bias where the researcher unconsciously affect results, data, or sample in the experiment due to their own subjective influence. A confirmation bias is another form of cognitive bias that involves favoring information that confirms our previously existing beliefs. Human beings, by their very own nature, are very biased. And these biases are reflected in terms of societal bias, bias in terms of preconceived notion, stereotyping, discrimination against race, culture, gender, religion, etc. comes under the societal bias. All of these biases not only impact how we gather information, but they also influence how we interpret and recall the information. AI learning is based on the input data fed by human or by human built system to build our AI system. Knowing the bias do exist in the data, it becomes very important for us to ensure we de-bias the AI system and build the AI in very responsible and fair manner so we all can trust this system. The bias concern is not only ethical, they are also legal and regulatory concerns and repercussions as well. For example, US Equal Employment Opportunities Commissions enforces these laws against discrimination based on sex, race, age, nationality, disability. General Data Protection Regulation, GDPR, regulates the processing of personal data regardless of any technology, which also includes AI. And any non-compliance on these regulations means a huge fine imposed on non-compliant. With this consideration in mind, organizations should be very, very careful about meeting the trustworthy AI and responsible AI requirements. So we can ensure this compliance by a well-defined responsible AI framework. So responsible AI framework helps us design and implement AI solutions in a human-centric way, in a way that benefits human society in general. This is a governance framework that guides the creators of AI products. An important goal of responsible AI is to reduce the risk that a minor change in an input's weight will drastically change the output of a machine learning model. And the key components of these frameworks includes core ethical concerns, guardrails, and compliances, defining the regulatory constraints, adhering to legal and organizational compliance. And not a single person is accountable for this. The responsibility starts with the head of the organization and trickles down to everyone who is in any way involved in creating AI product, right from envisioning the AI need to concepting, designing, building, evaluating, marketing, and selling. It is crucial to set up AI principles that defines the guidelines and standards to follow while building AI products. And lastly, a governance body should be created that will ensure all requirements are met and the product is created in a very responsible, fair manner. The second component here is the AI governance, that the focus on data governance and machine learning model governance. Data governance applies to how data is obtained, managed, used, and secured by the organization, and also its data lineage. This would provide an assurance around reliable and consistent usage of data and would help explain better how model actually came to that conclusion. Model governance sets the rules and control machine learning models running in production. And this includes model version control, access control, model testing, validation, model traceability, the traceability of the model results, and reproducibility. With model governance in place, organization can reproduce the experiments and provide legal and compliance reports on the use of machine learning models whenever it is needed. The last important component I want to address here is the governance around performance, monitoring, and control of AI system. AI system should be designed to treat all people fairly, should empower everyone, and should be inclusive of all. It should be understandable in the sense that it is possible to explain why the prediction is like that, why we are having a prediction of something what model is giving. There are numerous toolkits in place like Google What If, Microsoft FairLearn, IBM 360, Fair 360, and there are other machine learning interpretability toolkits that would help us understand this transparency and fairness aspect of AI model. Organizations are encouraged to adopt the ethical AI principles that directs ethical and lawful use of AI system. These principles are centered around responsible uses of AI, which implies executing appropriate level of judgment and care while building, deploying, and using AI capabilities. Equitable usage is aligned with fairness aspect to identify and mitigate unintended bias in the AI system, making AI trustworthy and fair for everyone. The data set used for training the model should be representative of entire population on which model output will be used. Infrastructure and process should be created such that fairness could be very easily validated and proper measures should be taken to create a fair system. Proper training to AI development team and communication to all stakeholders is also the key here. AI system should be designed with traceability in mind. Proper data governance and model governance, auditing, documentation, communication around how the system is developed, what technology is involved should be made a very common practice. Proper measures should be taken to be able to reproduce the ML experiments. In order to maintain the reliability of AI capabilities, appropriate guidelines and practices should be established and technology implemented to continuously monitor, control, and manage the life cycle of the AI system. And last but not the least, proper governance around the usage of AI capabilities should be designed to ensure AI system is used for the intent it is created, and any possible unintended consequences are identified and avoided. So creating a trustworthy system starts with human in mind design. A responsible AI design system begins with an ability to understand the whys behind the decisions or recommendations AI makes for us. It is very important to evaluate the AI system for the biases. And if a bias is observed, then mitigate the bias by removing any direct and indirect biases as well. Human in the loop approach will ensure that whenever AI system is not very confident, it should delegate the decisions to human, who in turn can look at the facts and understand the basis on which AI made predictions. And then it would rectify it as necessary. The responsible AI goal is to reduce the risk that the minor change in inputs or change in like discriminatory factors creates a drastic change in the output of the model. AI engineers should be also responsible to ensure that no personally identifiable data is being used and minimize any security and privacy violations. The last element in the responsible design is the control aspect, which can be achieved by routinely auditing the AI system and the impact of AI-based decisions, whether it is autonomous or augmented, and evaluate the cost of mistakes made by AI system. Consider, for example, a mistake made by AI autonomous weapons like killer drones, or even in misidentification of terminal diseases might have a life or death consequences and cost associated, which is a huge cost. This is a AI impact assessment roadmap, and it shows the 8 stages of right from the feasibility to the review phase. These are there are certain tasks. There are certain tasks that is involved in each of these steps that the organization can take to make sure that AI impact assessment is complete and it's completely reviewed by the review board. So in the first step, which goes around in the feasibility, during the feasibility step is the usage determination, whether the domain is new, whether the technology is new, technology being used is new, what's the degree of autonomy of the AI system, whether any sensitive personal data is being used, what's the impact of the AI decisions, and what are the legal consequences. Right from feasibility to moving forward to the definition steps, AI application system, this AI application description should be properly noted, and the goals of AI should be defined. All the data that is being used should be described, and who all are involved in building the AI system should also be completely described. The third step would be describing the benefits of AI for the organizations, for the end users, and also in case of like a government organizations, for the benefit of the society as well. The legal and ethical consideration is the fourth step, which determines goal and way to reach the goals, which determines whether the goals, AI goals, and the way to reach the goals are ethically justifiable. Describe the values and interest of using the AI system. Define the AI code of conduct. And also, this process also defines the laws and regulation related to these values and interest. The transparency and safety aspect determines, like in this step, we determine the transparency, safety, and reliability of the AI applications, and define also the metrics to address the safety and transparency. In the sixth step, which is more of assessment of if another simpler or possibly non-AI based solution can help reach the same goal, and then assess the interest and risk of all the different options to make sure that we have ruled out that the AI is the best way to solve this problem, approach this problem. The seventh step would be the accountability, and all actors should be who are involved in creating the AI application are accountable for the outcome of the AI system, and all the considerations should be well documented. The final step, which is very important here, is the AI review. This step determines what all should be reviewed, and then create a periodic review schedule to continuously keep reviewing the system, AI system, and also even after the system was developed and deployed, keep reviewing on the periodic basis that the AI system, the intent and all of those things still holds, and the performance still holds, and the AI system is still useful and for the way it was intended to be useful. So AI review boards should be comprising of representative from legals, from the product, from the users, from security team, from the AI or data science representation should be there, or any other stakeholders who might be impacted by the predictions or recommendations from the AI system should be in the review board. The responsibilities of the review board should include checking if AI is being used in a fair and inclusive manner, establishing policies, procedures, and code of conducts regarding the AI ethics. It should also audit the proposed use of AI and data and its usage. It should also handle any complaints around the uses of AI. It should maintain an inventory of AI used or being researched. And one of the also critical step would be setting up a training program regarding the AI ethics and training the entire organizations on the AI ethics and its repercussions. The complex AI system are, as we talk about all of those AI ethics regulation, there's more and more need of having to understand why AI system predicts the way it is predicting. And explainable AI approaches can help us achieve that understanding. Complex AI systems are inherently black box. Explainable AI approach converts these AI black boxes into AI glass boxes, which enables user to understand the whys behind the decisions. And the benefit is really huge. It helps identify, address, and share performance gaps quickly and help mitigate those problems, thereby creating a responsible and trustworthy AI system. Black box model keeps the user wondering why I am getting these predictions. Is AI confident in giving these predictions? Can I trust this output? Or if there's any error, what is that error and how can I fix that error? Contrast that to explainable AI system where user understand the why and why not behind the predictions. There's an understanding of when AI system will succeed or when it will fail, and know when I can trust the AI system, when I should not be trusting on the AI predictions. And know if there's an error, how can I fix that error? There are numerous approaches to perform explainable, to understand the predictions output. And one of the approaches I'm showing here is the Shapley value. And it is one of the approaches commonly used to explain the output of the machine learning model. This graph here shows the SHAP values on model that you model on the data from National Health and Nutritional Examination Survey, which is used to predict the probability of certain diseases. So base rate is the overall predictions, average predictions made by the AI system. The red bar actually shows prediction pushed to the higher side, and blue bar shows prediction pushed to the lower side. So if you combine all the prediction together, it gives the final output of final predictions. For example, in this case, what we see here is having an age equal to 65 pushes the prediction by 0.4 on the higher side. That means that anyone who has of age 65 has higher risk. In contrast, if the sex is female, the prediction goes on the lower risk side and reduces the overall risk. In this case, if you combine all of those risk factors and add all of those together, the final outcome would be 0.4. But now we know what is the individual contribution of these different factors looks like. What is the maximum contribution? In this particular case, it is equal to 65, the maximum contribution. So compare that to the model on the left side, where we get the output here. We don't know which one has a more impact or less impact. So as we see here, there's AI uses and advancement is exploding at very huge rate. The world is also uniting to take right steps to ensure ethical and responsible uses of AI. This is some of the this list only reflects some of the initiatives being taken by various countries and organizations with respect to the ethical AI uses. This is ever-growing list that shows how government, researchers, and advocates are coming together, and even the bigger organizations are coming together with AI principles and policies that not only provide the ethical guidelines, but also meet their respective priorities. The AI for Good Global Summit is a United Nations platform which is centered around annual global summits that fosters the dialogues on the beneficial use of artificial intelligence. AI Now Initiative Institute at New York University is an interdisciplinary research center which is dedicated to understand the social implications of AI. Future Advocacy. This is an AI think tank which advocates for responsible policies that will ensure everyone can share the benefits of AI. AI for People was launched at the European Parliament as a first multi-stakeholders forum, bringing together all actors interested in shaping the social impact of new applications of AI, including the European Parliament. Like this includes European Parliament, civil society organizations, industries, and the media. European Commission for the Efficiency of Justice issued ethical charter on the use of artificial intelligence in judicial system and their environment. European Parliament issued a report that deals with the ethical implications and moral questions that arise from the development and implementation of the AI system. It also reviews the guidelines and frameworks that countries and regions around the world have created to address the AI issues. Beneficial AI from Japan has published a report on artificial intelligence and human society around the ethical uses of AI system. Peer initiative by Google Brain Team. This focuses on human-centered research and design to make AI partnership productive, enjoyable, and fair. OpenAI is another initiative co-founded by Elon Musk on AI research and development with a mission to ensure that AI, artificial general intelligence, benefits entire humanity. So there's a lot going on in this space around ethical AI initiatives. And as human continues to coexist with AI, with a possibility of creating super intelligent AI, what does future of humanity looks like? Will AI help us create a utopian future where everything happens for the best in best of all possible worlds? If you have watched Truman Show, a 1998 movie, Truman Show, you remember how desperately Truman wanted to leave the utopian perfect world that was created just perfect for him. Utopian appearance soon becomes very boring and becomes very greatly undesirable. Now contrast this to dystopian world in the Terminator, where super AI rules the world with humans at verge of getting extinct. None of these scenarios are something where we would envision our future to be. We don't want to be in utopia, or we don't want to be in dystopia. However, there is a path in between. It is a protopia, which is a term coined by American thinker Kelly Kevin. And protopia is a state that is better than today, a little bit better than today, than tomorrow. Protopian future is more evolutionary than revolutionary, which can slowly achieve through better processes and gradual progresses. In this world, I see human AI working together, and we can get to this state only if we really care about building AI system in humanly responsible way. We become accountable for the future we want and need, and take the required steps to create a better life for everyone on our beloved planet Earth. I believe if we design responsibly, instead of being on the left side, we would be standing on the right side. Instead of AI taking away our jobs or take over the world, it will help us become superhuman, create exponential opportunities for humanity. We are currently living in the pandemics. AI helped us create the COVID vaccine in a record time of less than a year. The world is talking about super AI. While I do not doubt our ability to create super AI, handing over our future and control to superior agent whom we only created does not sound very right to me. Instead, we should aim to create a humble AI, which is not always certain. And whenever it is not certain, in the case of uncertainty, it should seek human feedback. This kind of AI is the AI that we should be going for. This kind of AI would be beneficial to the society in general. I will conclude my talk here with a famous quote from Spider-Man: with great power comes the great responsibility. The technological advancements and convergence has pushed us to achieve great things in a very short amount of time. However, it is entirely our responsibility to make use of this power and use it for the benefit of mankind. And I'd stop here, and I'd love to take any questions you might have in this context. And thank you for listening, and thank you, C-DAC, for having me.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Thanks a lot. And the session was thoroughly covered, including for me also, and I certainly believe for all participants, we came to know the both perspectives of AI, and the touching about the black box model and explainable AI was very much interesting to me, and also the various initiative which is taken globally. Thank you very much, ma'am, to cover the responsible AI part. Now we open for the questions from participants.
Thank you so much.
Can I just submit something?
Yeah, please, sir. Please.
Well, I am from C-DAC Pune, Senior Advisor to the Director General. Now, ma'am, whatever you said is very good, but now world has gone way beyond this. We've got a thing called GPAI, that is the Global Partnership on Artificial Intelligence. This is a 20-country consortia, and they are all pulling in, brainstorming as to how to take this AI thing to the grassroots level. We've been talking about AI, it's fine. But what exactly is AI? AI is just nothing but it's a technology, which is not fixed in nature. It adopts different avatars in different fields. Like say speech technology is different use. Now health sector is different use. Machine translation is different use. Robotics is different use. Right. So what we have gone, we've been brainstorming for our last 8 to 10 months. And this is being steered by PM Shri Narendra Modi himself. And we have reached quite forward now. So what we are doing is we have identified various sectors, right? Say up to innovation and commercialization also, as to how lower strata of the society can be benefited. So we have started a process called AI aware SMEs and AI non-aware SMEs. Supposing a transporter is there, or maybe SME pertaining to agriculture, how exactly is going to be benefited? We can go and say something which he'll not understand. What exactly is there? So we have to make him understand. First, before that, when we go to him, we must know the processes he is handling and where exactly we can intervene. What is the benefit that we're going to give him, and what will be the cost to it, and what kind of a cost benefit analysis will he carry out. Thereafter, different sectors. We have decided that structure, objective, mandate, functionality, nuances, governance, and financial status and other things also will have to be looked into. And these AI unaware organizations, what exactly is their need? Supposing a viewer is there, he is doing something. So what kind of a skill is he adopting, and where exactly we can help him? We can reduce his time, money, effort, and right up to the extent that we provide him a market. So it'll take 2 minutes only. Then we can, I'll just complete it. So what exactly we are trying to do is we are going to make the compendium of activities, which is happening at the global level. EU is one segment. In addition to EU, even say Italy, UK, US, and all other countries are also participating. There are 20 countries. So what we're going to do is the compendium of activities, wherein all activities broken down into various segments we are covering. This is what will be done, and this will have its own visibility, and there will be a massive drive so that everybody embarks on this mission, and thereafter the things will move forward. Anyways, rest will carry forward, as some gentleman said that you like to hear your views also. We got something more also at GPA level. Before that, there was a thing called RAISE, Responsible AI, right? Symposium was there, that was conducted by Prime Minister. Good about 60,000 people participated. So we are doing at a very large level, and Dr. Hemant Dabari from India, who's the Director General of C-DAC, is steering the thing. Over to you.
Sir, just a minute. I just before she answers that, I just have to put my thoughts here. Sir, we have done this web webinar series of 12 weeks. Okay. And we have covered what we have talked about. We have covered the entire perspective. Okay, entire scenarios we have covered. Today's talk was only focus on the responsible part of that.
Okay.
We have also seen that responsible part was there from the Prime Minister's side. We talked about GPay kind of things and all. So that was only for the kind of responsible side for the general audience, not for the focused audience. It was for the general audience basically. And then we are planning to have these kind of talks on very very focused audience, where they will actually learn how to design those kind of responsible AI. So that is in our plan, and that will be this kind of webinar series was only for the introduction aspect. Then we have the experts who have been involved with us. They will be helping us or will be joining us for kind of real kind of developments. And you have seen that, sir.
Fine, Aditya. My contention was only to give the overall global picture of what is happening.
Right, sir. Yes.
Yeah, that was a great perspective, and I think like what I would want to, and since like I work for in the healthcare related organizations, and one of my initiative also to create a system. Basically, when one of the intent would be to create, when we are integrating the models into our system, where we have our I'll say the model ops system, then we have our possibility to also extend that platform to be able to create a explainable fairness aspect of that and keep monitoring all those aspects while the model is actually predicting for the futures. So I'll take one like very simple example here, and you hit the right point that the AI is just a technology that we are using to solve a problem. This problem is not AI. We are not using for the sake of using, and AI is being used to understand the problem, which is the greatest part here, biggest challenge here. Understand the problem, understand the need, and then see if AI suits can help us solve that problem. And one of the things which I want to add here, and it is around the educational domain, and since I work in the educational edtech company, so one of the challenge that schools, universities face is they have a program called assisting the students after they fail in the first semester. Now they're doing that post the first semester, and what they realized is when they fail on the first semester, the need for them is not to support on the curriculum needs, rather to support some around the preparing them for actually like a strategy around how to improve their educational how to educational understanding faster, not really related to curriculum, more about like emotional learning or those kind of like a soft learning kind of a skill set. And what I came back with, why are you waiting for them to fail? Why you cannot create a AI system that looks into the past behavior, and predict that these systems are going to fail these students can fail in the semester, these are weaker link, and help them as soon as they join the program, create some supplementary courses that helps them succeed in the semester. And that is something, that's one instances I'll see, but there are multiple instances actually where AI system can be like used, understanding the need of the different sectors, and create an AI system to actually handle those needs, solve those problems, predict the futures, and actually change the future eventually before it also hits there. Because now I know that the future is there, and we have right now, I have worked on a lot of development of lot of the models actually, which does the exact same thing, and that works in the remediation, first of all understanding what is going to happen in future, and providing a remediation strategy right now, and before even the situation become worse, providing this remediation right now, though that never happens actually. So at the end of if everything goes good, and if a model is good, if my remediation strategy is good, then my model actually becomes useless after some point of time. I won't have anyone who would have a need for that kind of remediation anymore. So that is something that
very nice.
But I can see that same thing will be applying at the grassroots level at everywhere, because the intent are as part of like beneficial AI concept. You hit at the right point that what we need is we need AI to benefit the most vulnerable population of our most weaker population of our country, of our world.
Yeah, exactly. Very nicely covered. So I just wanted to give the global perspective as to what's happening. Whatever you said, it's being brought down to the practical level so that the benefit reaches the masses. Great,
Definitely.
great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ma'am, we have few questions. During the sessions, there was some question on the chat. There, as our participants, we are fortunate to have him. He is our ex-DG. So, sir has put some question was the cases which attracted Black Lives Matter in the USA influenced by AI? And he also asked that and does IT Act or any other act regulations addresses the needs of ethical AI related aspects in India also?
So to answer the Black Lives question, I think there's a more about the systemic bias in the societal system itself. And it is not something which AI is propagating that, because what AI sees is what is the bias in the human society itself. And it is just seeing that data and carries that. For example, I did mention one of the cases in my AI biases where a Black female with minor offenses was at higher risk of redoing that criminal offenses compared to the white male who has a criminal charges, more offensive criminal charges of robbery. So these kind of things is actually happens. What happens here is when we gather the data, we gather the data which is more from the prime prone zone, and prime prone zone, a weaker neighborhood, a poorer neighborhood, and there the population itself is like basically it is systemic bias in all different level in terms of race, in terms of neighborhood, the richer or poorer neighborhood, and all comes into that data. And actually when AI system is built for understanding the criminal risk, understanding whether this particular person could be a criminal or not, that Blacks actually comes at a higher risk. And that has been multiple instances where it has happened that even just by looking into the facial recognition algorithm, that itself is recognizing Black as more towards higher risk of being a criminal. There was a recent news under facial recognition biases, which happened that a company was using a Black was charged with shoplifting, and he had never been in that shop, and the AI facial recognition system says that you were there and you actually shoplifted, and he was taken to the jail. And right now there is a lawsuit filed against that offense, that whole process actually. So this is something which is, I'll say, it is just we are seeing it even in the AI system because it was there in the society. So to answer that question, and the other question, I think can you repeat the other question, the other part also?
Related sort of regulations or act which are addressing the ethical AI part.
Yeah, I will say that this IT related could be, but it is based on the for example, I work in the education area, and we are aligned to the FERPA laws, and we have to make sure that the student data is not shared across. So any IT system any of the system that we use, we need to align with our FERPA laws, that we are not exchanging the student information across the board. And so all of this individual laws that is specific to employment opportunity, that we are not discriminating against the race and gender, those pieces needs to be there. About IT one, I feel that the US is still have to do a lot in terms of protecting our data against, like, we have a better US, like, European Commissions has a better regulations on in terms of IT and data privacy acts. We, like, US has to still a long way to go to be able to reach to that level. So there's like a lot of like privacy concerns are there, but they're not handled in a very broader way. It's very, I think it's like more looser on the US side than on the broader spectrum, in the global spectrum.
As per one standard I had gone through, there's a technical paper published by ISO that is basically under this 24,000 series. I don't remember exactly the series, but they are working on trustworthy AI, and the technical paper have been published, and they are working on that. So maybe guideline would be coming in future maybe on this part.
Yeah, there's a lot going on also in terms of like the issues with around privacy and ethical and privacy issue, and recently a lot of researchers, well-renowned researchers from Google AI team, actually they either resigned or were fired. So a lot of news is coming up here, and I think very soon there would be something concrete that would be coming in to address these kind of situations, and maybe made into a regulatory issues.
In fact, what Sarah was talking about GPay is also coming out with some kind of fairness, fair AI, some kind of a standards on that and guidelines on that. So they also have a specialized team to work on that kind of things, and where the members are from the different countries. That is again another thing. All the countries are going to have. European Union is also having these kind of things. So maybe in a couple of years we'll see that a lot of standards and guidelines are already coming up on this area. This much area.
Yeah, definitely there's a lot of like a lot to go forward and come to a concrete understanding and implementation of the ethical AI principles all over.
Actually, ma'am, ethical word is a very confusing word, and it's a very relative term. It is not defined. Something may be ethical for you, may not be ethical for me. We have to, in our context, we have to, establish the boundaries. We have to play the game between these two lines. So that kind of a thing.
Definitely.
And at the same time, the intellectual property rights also play a big role in that. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely.
So with that thoughts across all the audience and our expert, I would like to end today's session with this huge amount of knowledge which I have gained and all the participants have gained. And at the last, I would like to thank our director sir for envisioning this 2-month-long webinar series, and all the speakers from day 1 to day 14th. To Sweta ma'am, I would like to thank all of you. I would like to thank all the participants, 173 participants, those who have registered on our website for this webinar, and for making this successful. And we are certainly looking on the capacity of C-DAC Patna to have a, as sir said, to a focused domain-wise in data science and AI for healthcare, AI for responsible AI, conversational AI for mobility. So likewise, capacity building exercises would be conducted from our end. I would surely need your help in terms of participation and in terms of expert sessions from all the experts. Thank you all for joining in. Thank you, ma'am, for this session. Thanks a lot.
Thank you for listening, and thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Great knowledge share, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.